Hello, everyone. Welcome to my series on the Analects of Confucius. Today, we're going to be jumping right in, taking a look at the very first line of the first section of uh, the Analects, in Chinese, the 论语. So, in English language scholarship, this is generally referred to as Analects 1.1. It's the first line, the first section. The first section is generally called 学而, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's just the first two characters of the first quotation. So we'll see what that means, and you'll see that it doesn't really mean much without context. So now, when we jump into this, right, we're going to see a lot of Confucius says, right? That's where this comes from. Sometimes it'll explicitly say Confucius says, other times it'll say the master says, but we're going to get a lot of people saying a lot of things, okay? And this first line is actually going to start off with that. It's not Confucius says, but it's 子曰, the master says. So we have 子. That means master. It's an honorific. It's attached to surnames. For Confucius, his surname was Kong. So if you want to call him Master Kong, you call him Kong. You add the z after it. And we'll see that in some of the other sections, but here we can assume that the master is that master. It's Confucius, okay? And then he says, 曰, to say. Now, the editor of this particular one gave us a lot of cheats. The editor of this particular version of the Analects gave us a lot of cheats because he gives us a colon. He gives us these brackets right here that generally those are the quotation marks of Chinese. So we don't have to guess where the quotes start and end. It's going to be provided to us. So we have that cheat. We also have the cheat of all these commas and punctuations, which wouldn't have been there in the original. But we don't really need to, we just want to read. This is going to help us out. But so to remind us, classical Chinese is a topic comment language. And this one, we actually have one kind of big structure, which is it's a quotation. It starts with a topic, that which some person said, that which the master said. And then the comment, everything down the rest of the way. That's the comment for this particular situation. But within that, we actually have a bunch of smaller structures. Okay? And again, we're cheating because hey, we've already got the punctuation there, so why not use it? These are going to divide up different statements, okay? So these are not necessarily connected, but they're all going to be somewhat parallel in a certain way. And we get another cheat of the comma, which actually gives us basically our topic comment division, okay? So we have three different topic and comment pairs that we're going to be trying to pick apart. First thing I'm going to do is actually look at the comments because they're all parallel. We actually have a structure with one thing that changes. In this case here, I'll put the arrows above the things that are different. Okay, this one actually is composed of two characters, and we'll have to figure that one out a little bit. But, right, what's the structure then? The structure of all of these sentences is topic, comma, so something, blah, 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 and then 不亦 something, who, 不 亦 something, who. Now, this something is generally an adjective or a stative verb because all adjectives act as stative verbs in classical Chinese. So that's what we have. To break that apart, what are we looking at here? We have 不, which is a verbal negation. Verbal negation. Okay? We have e, which modifies a verb also. Okay? You place it in front of a verb to say something also somethings. Okay? Some noun also verbs. Okay? Then we have our question mark, which we'll fill in. And then after that, we have this thing, who, which is it's a marker, usually rhetorical question, marker, but it can also be a question exclamation / exclamation. It is kind of like a punctuation. It usually draws emphasis. Oftentimes it's used in rhetorical question statements. And all of these are going to be rhetorical question statements where we basically have something being said and then is it not this certain way? So what are our certain ways? Well, the first one we have, if you're familiar with Chinese, it might look a little strange because it looks like the character shuo, which means to say, to discuss, to speak, something like that. But this is actually an example of early script developments in Chinese where it's being used to write down a word that is now these days written using a different character. Instead of yen, the speech radical at the beginning, it's replaced by xin, which is the heart radical. So instead of it being about speech, it's actually about the heart. It's something about feelings. It's a positive emotion that we might describe as happy, enjoyable, pleasing, something like that. One of those English feelings that we like to talk about for positive emotions, okay? Now, this one over here, it also basically means that. It also basically means happy. It's le. Sometimes we say delightful. But suffice to say, it's another positive emotion in reaction to something. And then lastly, this last one is a little bit different. So 君子, not only is it composed of two different characters put together, but it's also generally a noun, which is usually described as gentleman or superior man. This is the positive male figure within Confucianism. Whenever he wants to talk about what a man should attain to, that's a junzi. And remember, all of this is going to have a very deeply embedded patriarchy. It's all about a certain hierarchy within the household, and at the top of that is the husband. And men generally are the ones that are concerned with the things that Confucius is going to be talking about. So keep that always in the back of your mind, not only in reading Confucius, but when thinking about Confucian-oriented society. Okay? But so what do we have? Is it not happy or enjoyable or pleasing? Is it not delightful? Is it not gentleman? Well, when we take a noun and we put it in a situation where it should be a verb, stative verb, to act as the noun, to act as a gentleman, is it not gentlemanly? Something like that. Okay, so as simple as that, we've put together our three different comments. So now let's look at what the topics are that these comments are actually addressing. What do we got? So first off, again, these are the two characters that give the name to the first section. The first one is 学, to learn or to study. 学, to study. 儿. R is a coordinator. I'll put it in my spelling is horrible sometimes, so let me do that again. Coordinator. So this is a grammatical marker. It connects things. In this case, to study is a verb, and it's connecting to another verb over here, where we have something in here which is modifying the verb. It's an adverb / stative verb type thing, but it can act as a noun. It literally basically means time or time period. But when we modify our verb, which is 习, to practice, when we modify practice, it's time to practice, like to have time to practice. You can put a specific amount of time. This is abstract time, any time, to have time to practice, to study and have time to practice. The coordinator are this one right here. We usually put in something like and, some type of conjunction in English. So to study and have time to practice. 知 is an abstract noun. Abstract noun. Like it. it's assumed that the reader doesn't need a specific noun. In this case, to study and have time to practice it, meaning anything that you might study and then be able to put it into practice at some time. Okay, that's our topic. 不亦乐乎? Is it not pleasing, happy, enjoyable, something like that? Okay, that's our first topic comment. Our second one, we start with the existential verb 有, to exist, or sometimes to have, to possess. 朋, a noun, meaning friend. Okay, so we have a verb, we have a noun. Then we have a helping verb, I'll just call it a verb, which is a directional from. We call it from like a preposition in English, but it acts more as a verb, more like a verb kind of structure in classical Chinese. From, taking an object, which in this case is a compound noun, composed of a stative verb in front of a noun. In this case, our stative verb is to be distant, 远, to be distant. And then our place, our noun, is just a place. So when you modify place with distant, it becomes distant place. And then our last character here, 来, to come. So this verb over here is modifying this verb by giving you a place from which the verb is taking place. And so you can have 字, right? Let me give you another structure here. If you have 字, noun, verb, it tells us from the noun, verb. So in this case, we have from, far place, come, to come from a far place. Okay? So putting this all together, to have a friend from far place come, to have a friend come from a far place. We just need to move that verb up in English. To have a friend come from a far place, topic, comment, is that not delightful? I'd say so. Then our last topic, we have 人, person, or more generally human. I'd say person fits the best here. You'll see why. Then we have our verbal negation, 不. We already saw it down here. Okay, I'll put a circle around it too to make it clear. Verbal negation popping up. That means that if a verb comes, that means that if we see this character 不, we know that there's got to be a verb somewhere. Well, it turns out that there's a verb right next to it, 知, to know. Then we have our coordinator from over here. Put a little underline, coordinator popping up. Then we have another verbal negation, 不. And we have a stative verb / adjective, 晕. To be angry. So, person, not know, and not upset, angered. So what does that mean? If a person doesn't know something and they're not frustrated by it, they don't get angered by it. They don't get angered by not knowing. Topic, comment. 不亦君子乎? Is that not gentlemanly? So the idea being that the superior man, the good man, the gentleman, is not going to be angered if he doesn't know something. What's he going to do? He's going to go back to the beginning, all the way over here. So he doesn't know. What's he going to do? He's going to study. And then eventually, once he knows, he can put it into practice. Okay? So that's our first line. The master says to study and have time to practice it. Is that not pleasing? To have a friend come from a far place. Is that not delightful? A person does not know something and then is not angry. Is that not gentlemanly? Okay, so that's our first one. We've read Analects 1.1. In the next video, we're going to be looking at Analects 1.2, the next line, the second line in the first section of the Analects. So thank you for watching. I hope this was enjoyable. I hope you learned a little bit of something. If you liked the video, give me a like. If you like the channel, give me a subscribe. I'm going to keep posting these things, and hopefully we can learn quite a lot, read quite a lot of classical Chinese together. See you on the next one.